Hi, and welcome to Speaking Of. I'm Jared.
I'm Kate.
So, in our last episode, we were talking about teenagers and generation gaps and how they didn't know about Stephen Hawking. So, I'm finding that I myself am experiencing some generation gaps. I don't know about you lately.
Well, obviously, yes. In case you weren't part of last week's episode.
I wasn't. Did you see last week's episode?
Rude.
Just saying.
I may need a new co-host, so submit your applications. Bribes are accepted.
So anyway, Karen, I realized that the generation gap was happening when I didn't realize who a certain someone was. And this is when I still had my old job and I was teaching. I was walking down the hall with one of my students.
Okay.
And the typical junior high, there's some stuff on the floor. So there's this picture.
Some stuff on the floor. Wow.
Never mind, I'll stop there. So, as we're walking down the hall, there's a picture that had fallen out of somebody's locker, clearly had some tape on it, and there's this kid on it.
Okay.
My first reaction is I can't tell if said kid is a boy or a girl.
That is a problem these days.
So the next thing is it was folded over just so. So I'm looking at it and I'm walking with this student and I'm like, what's a Justin Bieber? I didn't know.
What's A as if it's a thing?
I told you I couldn't tell.
Oh, I see. Because Justin is a boy's name.
Or a girl.
Justin isn't one of those transferable names.
Was worried.
You never know these days. I saw somewhere written, speaking of names that are boys or girls, or spelled wrong, or whatever. So I'm at my nephew's graduation, and they're putting up the pictures of each of the kids, right? And they have their name there. And some of them are, like this boy, his name was Braxton, and it's spelled Braxtin. And I'm like, I bet that was really cute when he was a toddler, but now he's going to be an adult, and boy, that's embarrassing.
Well, what?
Or I saw there was a boy named Riley, spelled Rileigh. Really? Why? Yeah. Like, just because you've learned phonetics and you know what all the silent letters are doesn't mean you should go nuts with it. I'm just saying. Okay, carry on.
Well, no, the one concern, because my grandpa's name was Harlow.
Okay. Classic name.
Which he actually would tell all of us, do not name your children after me. So the reason I had this big fear, though, is I had a female student at my school named Harlow.
Because they don't care anymore. They don't care.
It's just sad.
When you're naming your children, think of them as adults. Just please, would you?
Think of them as, are they going to get their butts kicked on the playground on a daily basis if they have this name?
Well, and I'm not going to lie, when we're at the graduation and they're showing the pictures.
Do tell.
Well, there was this girl, and there was a girl, her name was...
that just makes me want to say there was this woman from Nantucket, and then we just go, yeah.
But now I cannot remember what her name was. But it had a K where there should have been a C. I don't know.
A K where there should have been a C. Interesting.
This story really sucks without knowing what her name was. But anyway, her name was spelled with a K instead of a C, and I turned to my niece and I'm like, that girl, look, she's going to be a stripper.
I don't know how
she
you
has
sat
no chance.
through all of those graduations. That was a lot of graduations.
There's a lot of graduations, but the second one was more fun because I was sitting next to my niece who I got to make snide remarks to the whole time. It was awesome. That one's going to grow up to be a stripper. Look, is he in jail in that photo? Because I think he belongs there. Furthermore... But then at the first graduation...
Okay, go ahead.
At the first graduation, the principal was giving a speech, right?
Right.
But he kept, fumbling over his words, and he was kind of struggling. So my husband, sitting next to me, decides...
Joe went too?
Yeah.
Wow, that was
he's a trooper.
Brave, yeah.
So he's sitting next to me, and I see him... It was kind of pointless. Oh, okay. Sorry. I see him typing a text message to me. So I say it's kind of pointless because he's sitting right next to me. But then I remember that I kept telling him that he couldn't keep talking because he doesn't have a quiet voice and his voice kind of carries, and then everybody could hear him. And
it vibrates the house.
Right. And I'm like, well, what if the parents of the kid that you're making fun of is sitting right behind us, because that's going to be really bad, right? So I told him he couldn't talk anymore, so then he sent me a text message. But the text message that he sent me was a quote from that Bees game that we went to where the guy behind us was heckling all the players and the umpire, and the umpire didn't make a call or made a bad call or something, and the guy behind us says, he says, remember...
If you're still watching, you get a gold star.
No, but remember I told you this. So the guy behind us yells at the ump and he goes, it's okay, ump. I suck at my job too, right? So...
You told the principal he sucked at his job?
No, that's what Joe texted me was, It's okay, principal. I suck at my job too. Because he was the principal and he couldn't get his words right. Anyway, that was the first graduation. We went to the second one and it was more fun. You had something to say?
If I did, it's gone now.
That's why we have paper.
It is why we have paper, but actually, that just was crazy. And so, speaking of crazy, let's talk about Amanda Bynes for a moment, shall we?
I've got nothing compared to Amanda Bynes.
Yes, you do have nothing with Amanda Bynes. So, on a previous episode, and I feel previously, I know, flashback.
Previously on the Jared and Kate show.
Now you're just going to get people confused.
I know.
So we really enjoy Amanda Bynes, and I still do. However, this last round of incidents, have you seen? Good. Did you see the wig? When she got arrested, she looked like Cousin It.
Well,
and you want to know what she's going to do now? She's going to tell us that we're ugly. That's her response to everything.
Oh, we make fun of her wig, but we're ugly,
yes.
So that's what.
No.
Well, you know.
Well, and it's
at least we don't wear Lindsay Lohan's wig.
So the New York Post is now reporting that her neighbors are in such a state, like, speaking of you're ugly, she went and knocked on...
Speaking of you're ugly?
No, listen to this. She goes and knocks on her neighbor's door. The neighbor answers. She yells, "You're ugly," and runs off.
We should do that. It's like doorbell ditching times 2.
Except we're going to call it Amanda Bynesing.
Yes.
We're going to go Amanda Bynesing.
Ding dong. You're ugly. See ya.
But you gotta run fast. So yeah, she's mean mugging the neighbors in the elevator. Nobody wants to be in the elevator alone with her.
What term did you just use?
I don't know.
Did you say she's mean mugging?
Mean mugging. Have you never heard the stink eye?
That's called mean mugging?
Yes.
Okay,
because if your mug, you know, your face is your mug. It's your mug shot. And if you're looking mean, it's a mean mug.
Okay, this goes back to the generation gap thing because kids clearly don't know that being mugged is something violent when you get something stolen from you. So if you're mean mugging, that means that you're stealing mean from other people. Like, really?
Actually, I like that idea. Think about how much meaner we could be if we could steal mean from other people.
That is true. Kind of like with the Highlander and how he was immortal, and if you cut off somebody else's head, then you get their powers or whatever. We could do that with the meanness. Of course, this is the problem. There is a bad side effect to this idea.
Okay.
Because we have to think about, you gotta plan ahead, right? If we steal the mean out of everybody, then that means that everybody's gonna be super nice. And that's just gonna drive us crazy.
Yeah.
Rest assured, everyone, you can keep your mean, but don't get carried away, all right?
So, speaking of stealing and mugging, she kind of knows where I'm going with this already.
What about stealing and mugging?
Well, it's an interesting fact that most adults have stolen something at least once in their lifetime.
By the time they're an adult.
By the time they're an adult. Okay. Which, sadly, in age years probably means by the time you're 20, but regardless.
Well, what does it count if you were...
Yes.
I'm not talking about me. Because we all know those count. Does it count if you're at the grocery store and you have a pack of gum in your hand and you're kind of like holding it and walking and they think that you're going to steal it? Because my brother did that once.
Did he get caught? Did they see him?
Yeah, no, they said something to him and he was all embarrassed and because it kind of looked like but he was really just carrying it and doing his thing.
Well, I had once where I was at one of those super retail stores. I'm not even going to say where I was.
Okay.
But I was printing off some pictures and I only ran 4x6s.
Right.
I didn't want to get an envelope or anything, and so I made the mistake of tucking them in my back pocket.
But really, why are you going to steal somebody else's photos? That's weird.
Well, I didn't pay for them. And granted, they were probably like, what are they, 20 cents?
Oh, you didn't pay for them?
I didn't pay for them. I walked out of the store, and it wasn't until I got to the car and was a good way home before,
and you're sitting on your pictures.
Yeah, and I was sitting on my pictures.
Speaking of stealing pictures,
Do you like how I set that up for you?
I do. So, picture this. Joe and I are on a cruise. Now, I would like to say that I'm not proud of this.
She so is. Don't let her fool you.
But I won't
at
say
all.
that. So, you go on your cruise and they take all the formal pictures and whatever, right? So then what happens is you go into one little alcove there in the main floor of the boat, and they have all these racks, and the pictures are just up on the rack. So you can just go take whatever pictures technically, but you have to go look for yourself, right? It's like playing Where's Waldo with yourself. It's ridiculous. And then you're like, oh yeah, look at those people. Yeah, they don't clean up so good. Shocker. So anyway, so we're going through and we find all these pictures. Well, the guy that we had 2 sets of pictures.
Right.
Okay. So the guy that took one of them, he had like the soft filter on too much, so everything was just kind of fuzzy. I kept thinking, do I need glasses? Anyway,
like we're in a dream.
Yeah, they weren't very good pictures. So then we find the other ones, and they weren't great pictures either. Okay, so I'm looking through them, and I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? Because first of all, the pictures are expensive. I think it was like $20 to buy one, right?
Well, of course, it's like being at a theme park, pretty much.
Second of all,
worse because you're held hostage at sea. Just saying.
Well, and that's a good point, because we'll get to that. So I'm looking through these pictures and I have them and I'm like, okay, here's one that we could maybe frame or keep or whatever. So I take that one, and then of course I collect all the other ones because I'm going to leave them there. Then what's going to happen to them?
People are going to walk by and say they don't look good in the soft filter.
Oh no, they won't. Anyway, so I take the pictures and they have this little box, and you can slide your pictures down into this box to throw them away. Really? If it's not a shredder, then I don't trust that they're not going to do something with those pictures. What are they going to do? Put me in a pamphlet? I doubt it, but still, you don't know. So this is what I decided. They can't have my pictures. So this is what happened.
They can't have my pictures.
They cannot have my pictures. So we walk up to the little kiosk where you can buy the pictures, and Joe's standing there with me. And I have the pile of pictures. I hand him the one, we pay for it, he puts it in the little folder thing, puts it in a sack, I take it, thank you very much, and then put the rest of the pictures in the bag.
What's sad is this is in front of a guy, right?
Yeah, he was right there, and Joe's panicking because he's like, we're held hostage on this boat overseas in international waters, who knows what could happen to us. And I'm like,
they're going to set you adrift in a lifeboat.
It's true, I'm lucky to be here at all. Well, I don't know if lucky's the right word, but anyway, yeah, so then I just walk. I have them somewhere because they're not having my pictures.
I do love that story.
And because of that story, I have a lady at work whose husband, who looks like Harrison Ford, by the way, refers to me as Cleptowhat.
Excellent!
Well, and it's not just because of that story. There were a couple of other incidents.
So I want to take this subject and throw it out to all of you. I want to know, we want to know, what has been the most ridiculous thing that you have ever had a klepto moment with, that you just walked out with?
Are you trying to say that stealing those pictures was ridiculous?
No, that was a master plan. Evil master plan worthy of Gru himself.
I'll say it was.
So leave your comments below.
Yes. Tell us what you've stolen.
Yes.
You don't have to be specific because we don't want
to incriminate anybody like we just did with ourselves.
I'm not telling you which cruise line we went on, but it's lucky that we didn't die out there. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, I'm Jared.
And I'm Kate.
And we will see you next time.
If you're lucky.